Welcome back to the Morning Grind, RotoGrinders. This is Dean with you once again. Stevie, he'll be back with you guys shortly, taking over his show soon enough. At least that's the word I have. Of course, if you guys want to get his NASCAR package, you know where to get it here at RotoGrinders.com. That said, we're doing something a little bit different today. We're going to be talking to somebody in the Washington Nationals, the defending champion Washington Nationals organization. With that, we're going to bring in Jacob Condra-Bogan. Jacob, it's great talking to you. We're talking pre-show. We have a chunk of time here to talk, kind of pick your brain about the minor leagues and things that are going on there, and how we discovered you, or how you discovered us, our producer. We've been pumping out some sports card content of late, and that's something you've been doing as well too on the Instagram. We'll be talking about that soon enough as well. But Jacob, how are things? How are things in your world? I wish you were busier.
Yeah, I wish I was a little busier too, but things are going. I can't complain. I get to spend some time with my wife that I normally wouldn't get to spend. I'm a newlywed. I got married last December. So
congratulations.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, congratulations on the wedding. Hope all is going well there. And you're in the Washington Nationals organization. Of course, there's no minor leagues because of COVID. And, again, we're going to talk about your sports card stuff in a bit too. And we've been doing a lot of that content here at RG as well. And you have your own card because we want to learn about that, because that's like every boy's dream, isn't it? That's pretty awesome to have your own sports card. And you autographed it yourself, and it went somewhere, and then it came back to you at some point.
Yes. Full circle.
Yeah. Well, let's start as far as high school. Looks like you're drafted out of the 30th round. I pulled up your Wikipedia here. I was cheating here a little bit.
So I went to 4 years at Wofford College. Then I spent a grad year at Georgia Southern. I was drafted there to the Blue Jays in the 32nd round. And then we didn't come to terms. And then the next year I signed with the Royals. And I played for the Royals for a couple months. And then I was traded 1-for-1 for Brian Goodwin to the Nationals. And I've been with Nationals ever since. Last year I was in AA Harrisburg for all of the year. And then I played in Arizona Fall League, spring training, COVID. Now we're here.
What's it like crossing paths with Brian Goodwin, or do you even cross paths with him? Like, is it weird getting traded for somebody?
It was very weird. I was playing catch one day. I had just been promoted to high A. I was playing catch like my third day there. And all I hear from our manager was, "Not another throw, Jacob Condra-Bogan." I was like, oh God, like, what did I do? I was like, am I getting released? Like, I've been pitching pretty good, pretty well. And he calls me in. He's like, well, you're no longer a Kansas City Royal. I'm like what? Like, what happened? He's like, yeah, you got traded to the Nationals. I was like, okay, all right, that's a little that's a little better. But I had no clue. Like, I didn't know I was even in a discussion to be traded or anything like that. So it was a little surreal. And then when I found out that I was being traded, because I wasn't a big prospect, straight up for a big leaguer, it's a little special. So that felt pretty good.
I just you had a cup of coffee there. I have to ask you about this. Cup of coffee with a team called the Washington Wild Things.
Yes.
Is that it? Okay, I feel like it's either inspired of one of two things as far as the team name. Is that inspired based on the Major League movie, or is that inspired like Mitch Williams, like the former relief pitcher? Does he own the team?
What's after I didn't sign with the Jays, I played 1 month with the Washington Wild Things, which is the indie ball team in the Frontier League, and I played that August with them. Had a great time. Now, indie ball is a completely different experience, even for minor league ball. But it was a lot of fun. But, yeah, I think it's definitely from – so I don't know how often a game I heard, "Wild Thing."
How much do you hate that song now?
Oh, and it was my favorite movie. I don't know if it still is. It was my favorite baseball movie. Now I have to, maybe switch to Bull Durham or something like that.
If you walk like one or two guys in the crowd, everybody just starts doing it, I suppose, right? Is that just automatically what happens if for whatever reason you're a pitcher?
Well, hopefully not to me, not to the hometown team, but to the other team for sure.
Have they fully what's the mascot for the Wild Things? What does it look like? Do you know? You remember?
I'm pretty sure it's like a base, it's like a bit. I don't know if you know. I think it's like the baseball. You know how he wore the glasses in the movie and had the mohawk. I think it's like that.
Sure. Oh, there you go. Yeah, the minor leagues, they have some. And you played. You've been around the minor leagues as well. What's like the weirdest, most fun team name that you have out there that you've?
My favorite team name is I like the Akron Rubber Ducks.
The Rubber Ducks, Akron, Ohio.
Yep. I like that team. The Flying Squirrels is pretty good. There's some really crazy names out there.
Is there any sort of weird like in-game promotions you can think of, just sort of off the top of your head that sort of inspired by the team names? I don't know. I'm just kind of getting off this tangent, but now I have it in my head. I'm just because they do different things in the minor leagues to kind of bring in crowds for promotions, right?
There's been some. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I don't know if I can quick think of one, but the in-between innings sometimes they get a little wild. Sometimes they adventure onto the field. Like you'll have animals start running wild on the field, and you'll see videos of that. That is that's sometimes commonplace in the Wild West of the minor leagues.
Did you always want to be when you're playing baseball? Would you take the pitching right away? Were you a better hitter at first, and how did you land becoming a pitcher?
Well, I was kind of a late bloomer for sure. I didn't really start focusing on baseball until around 8th grade. And I was a good athlete, but I wasn't a great baseball player at all. And I didn't ever think I was going to play college baseball, to be honest. But I was probably always a better pitcher than hitter. I was just athletic, so I could play center field pretty well. That was about 70 pounds ago, so I was moving pretty well then.
Well, when did you realize that like this could be a thing? This could be a career? At what point do you say like you start taking it more seriously?
I mean, sometimes I still wonder what's going on. But no, I thought I was going to be a college basketball player. That was my dream, was to be a college basketball player. Even at the Division II level, that's what I wanted to do. And then we didn't have a ton of money growing up, so I didn't get to play a ton of summer ball and go to all these big camps in East Cobb or whatever. And that's another story about the epidemic of pay-to-play that's going on in the baseball world. But I went to a Wofford camp. I saw it in the newspaper back when the newspaper in the classified section was a thing.
What's a newspaper?
I saw in the newspaper that they had a camp going for like $80. This is during football season, my senior year. So I went to Wofford College. It was right down the road. Went to camp. That was the first time I'd ever been on a radar gun. And I hadn't thrown a baseball in months, and I was like up to 92 miles an hour.
Nice.
I was like, holy crap, I'm actually not that bad. And then I started getting a little more interest there. But I ended up committing there as well.
What are we maxing out now? Around 98, 99, 100?
Yeah. Yeah, around.
What are you doing now? Like, are you playing catch with somebody? How do you stay fresh? Because
I go to a local facility that is like it's called Upward Sports, and it is like, so I live in the home of Zion, so this is also a pretty big basketball place right now. But this is this beautiful facility. They have a baseball park. They have an Olympic gym, and it's private. So for COVID and stuff, that's fantastic. I don't really want to go to a public gym right now.
Sure.
Because people aren't always going to wipe after themselves or whatever. So I go there and I work out, and I do it all in one place, which has been a blessing. It's been a blessing. So it keeps me from running around and running all over the place, trying to throw here, go lift there, and do all kinds of stuff like that.
Well, and what do the Nationals say? Like, everybody's just kind of like, as far as all our minor leaguers, everybody's just got to stay fresh on their own, like just in case we need to call you up, or how does that work?
Yep, exactly. That's it. Stay fresh on your own. Send in video to them. Talk. We'll have talks with the coaches and stuff about what we're working on, what our goals are, and what we can do better.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Like depending, everybody's just kind of like got to behave. Just act as if you'll get the call up any day now, and then they'll need you for whatever reason. But yeah, that's just really weird how that works. Is there any perk, by the way, as being defending champions in Nationals? Do you get anything out of this in the minor leagues, or does it trickle down, or not so much?
I got pride. I would like a little check, but pride's pretty good too, I guess.
Hey, pride's worth something. Yeah, sure, why not?
But no, on the minor league side, no, I'd like a T-shirt at least, but right now, nothing.
They got to get you a T-shirt.
Right.
Yeah, you're on the Nationals. Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't hook you up, but what's it cost to make a shirt these days?
I played with some of those big leaguers last year. Maybe I gave them a few words that got them going.
Hey, man, everybody plays a role. I'm trying to think down my head. Like, yeah, so talk about some of the guys you played with, and I guess talk about some of the guys in the majors. I guess Harper's, but older than you. Soto's younger than you. I assume you cross paths with those guys.
I think not Harper. Harper was Well, when I got traded, that was the last year of Harper. So the
Okay.
only time I would run into any of those guys would be spring training. But I played with Michael A. Taylor, Aaron Barrett, Adrian Sanchez, Johnny Venters, like a lot of really good guys. Mostly, that's probably the biggest thing that over how talented they are. Ryan Zimmerman, played with him a few times this year during his rehab stints. More than anything is that a lot of these guys are amazing human beings. Amazing. Definitely everyone I just named there as well. And I'm missing plenty when I was in Double-A because they would come to Double-A and then they'd go straight to Washington. Our Triple-A team was in Fresno, so we had a lot of guys going from Double-A to the big leagues instead of going Double-A, going to the West Coast, and then flying all the way to D.C. So, but Eric Fetty, Vo, there's just Andrew Stevenson. And these guys are all amazing human beings.
That's like an organizational philosophy, right? Depending on some organizations, like take you from Double-A to Triple-A, and some they'll just jump from double to the majors, and it's just, I guess, different organizations have different philosophies.
Like Soto never. I mean, Soto's generation.
He's an outlier too, right? He's just ridiculous.
But he never played an inning in AAA. He just went low A, high A. This is all in like a 2-month span. Double-A, and then like borderline rookie of the year if you'd have played the whole season. So it's kind of crazy.
Do you know it? Like when you watch a Soto, like you see him, like you just see something about him. It's just different. Like the way the ball jumps off his bat, you're like, this is the guy. Like this, you can just see he's special.
When guys miss hit balls and they go 415 feet, you start realizing that there's a whole nother level. A whole different level. And Soto's one of those guys that's like. Yeah, he's on. But like when we were playing with Ryan Zimmerman, who has been Mr. National, I think this might be year 19 for him.
Yeah, I mean, he opted to not play this year. I saw.
He opted out, and I respect that for sure.
Sure.
But like even like as he was getting older, he was mishitting balls, and like they're going further than people maxing out. There's tiers. There's a whole nother skill level that a lot of big leaguers have. Definitely the really good ones.
How much do you care about, or how much your teammates care about, like the new analytics and like things like launch angle and spin rate and exit velocity? I remember Zimmerman had really strong exit velocity, surprisingly, like a year or two ago. Yeah. It's like really jumping off his bat. Like, how much is that? How conscious of that are you? How much do you care about that? Do you notice that, like, younger players are? Yeah, go ahead.
We care about it. We care about it, but that's work that you do while you're not in the game. That's not work you can do in game. In game, you're just focusing on hitting the ball hard, getting the next out, those kind of things, like, maxing out, making a good pitch. So once you get into the competition, you're just focused on winning. But when you step back and you're practicing, you can focus on some of those things and do drills. So, you're just trying to get better, better at your craft. And the analytics have shown like certain combinations work really well. If you have a fastball that is this and you have a curveball that is this, if you pair those two together more so than necessarily a slider, you will have more success. And there's a large sample size that shows, but there's an outlier. There's always an outlier as well.
How did you decide? What's your pitch repertoire? How did you decide on it? What do you have?
Well, right now I'm fastball, curveball, changeup. I am a heavy fastball pitcher. I'm a heavy fastball pitcher. So last year I threw my fastball over 80% of the time.
And that's just what works. That's your best pitch. You throw it the most often, and that's that. Doesn't matter who you're facing, more or less. It's just that's my best pitch.
I mean,
try and hit it.
They always say you want to go to your strengths more than focus on their weakness. And my fastball is my strength, and it doesn't get hit very often. So, I mean, I've had innings where I throw 30 straight fastballs and, nothing. Like, I'm good. I'm good.
The catcher's just bored dropping the one?
Oh, it's so easy. The catcher doesn't even drop a sign. It's so easy. But I'm always continuing to develop. So I was really excited about this year. I had a new pitch. My curveball was my new pitch. Worked all off season on it, and I was really excited about it. So I still haven't got to show the world that. But I'm looking forward to putting up some video games numbers with a new pitch. So.
Yeah. So how do you come up with a new pitch now? Like, did you of course you were aware of the curveball 5 years ago. Like, what makes you say, like, now I'm going to dedicate the time to it? Maybe whatever reason didn't take right away.
Well, I mean,
how does
5
that
years
work?
ago. 5 years ago, I didn't even know what Rapsodo was, or some of these Matrix. I had no clue. Didn't have it
Okay.
at college. I don't think many people did, if we're being honest. These are all new tools for us. The Rapsodos, the TrackMan, that's new tools. But so I was pitching, and I was just seeing stuff with my eyes. Like, I knew I had a good fastball because when I threw it in a certain spot, it would almost never get hit. And I wasn't confident in my slider because I would see it get hit every now and then. So the confidence played a factor. But once you go to the numbers, your eyes aren't always telling the full truth. What I feel like, man, every time I throw my slider in the spot, it gets hit. And then they show me the numbers. They're hitting 180. When you throw in this spot, just trust the numbers. Trust it, you're good. But maybe I gave a big homer in that spot in the past or something. So I just don't have – that's where the numbers come into play, really. A lot of times they support what you're seeing. But every now and then you're like, maybe my breaking ball is not as bad as I thought it was. I need to throw it a little more often. I just – I don't see the results as I see with my fastball, but I also throw my fastball a lot. So that's kind of you kind of want a blend of analytics and what you're seeing. But at the end of the day, getting outs is what moves you up. It doesn't matter if you're really good, you have a really good fastball, really good off speed, but people are still hitting you. It doesn't matter.
So there was times like the catcher, like, when they actually dropping a sign, they would drop a breaker, and you would shake them off and say, no, I would throw the fastball, and that's that.
Yep. So, like when I was in the fall league, we did a lot of in the fall league. Is like the all-star league almost. In the Arizona Fall League, and I did really well there. But I had a quota of I had to throw a certain amount of curveballs per inning. So because I knew that I can get outs with my fastball, but that's my focus was on working on my breaking ball. So
you're working on stuff. The results don't matter so much, right? You're just trying to get work in. And
exactly. Luckily enough, my results were really good. But that adds to confidence level. So now when I throw my curveball, I throw with more confidence, conviction. So it's just confidence plays a big role in baseball in general.
So I'm curious, speaking of results, like results-based thinking, and like this is like from a DFS perspective, like a daily fantasy sports perspective, and we're like, when we see a pitcher gave up 4 or 5 runs in 4 or 5 innings, and we're like, well, wait a second, he got BABIP to death. The batting average on balls in play was like 570, and there was no exit velocity, and they had some weird shift on. It was just a bleeder up the middle, like that's what it should have been, and a blooper over here. And do you play the same game, kind of like, well, like, okay, yeah, on paper I had a bad game. I gave up a couple hits, but really the ball was just a weird spot, and like funky things can happen in baseball.
Like statistically speaking, ground balls are the highest rate of outs. But if you have 2 ground balls that went through the hole, that's baseball. That's baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball to me is probably the most it's a dependent sport compared to independent. If you shoot a perfect basketball shot, it's going in the hole 100 out of 100 times, right?
Correct.
Baseball, as soon as the ball leaves my hand, I am out of the play. I'm done. There's little things here and there defensively, but it is completely dependent on the umpire, the catcher, the hitter. And if the hitter hits the ball, I can make a great pitch. The hitter can hit it. It doesn't – you know what I mean? So – and there's a lot of good hitters, and sometimes you really have to say, I made the right decision. It's like gambling. You made the right play, or a DFS. You statistically you made the right decision, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and it's like from a hitter's perspective, you can hit like 3 screaming line drives, and you can go 0 for 3, and like
exactly,
and maybe you're in a slump, and like you might want to first beat yourself up, but it's hard to look at the big picture. It's like, hey, I'm crushing it. Eventually, bigger sample size is going to turn around, but in the moment, I'm sure you're frustrated.
I've given up 3 runs before, and then the next day my pitching coach was like, don't worry about it. Like, the average exit velocity was 48.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that happens. And you're like, yeah, it wasn't like I was just getting, I was getting whiplash because my neck was looking at the wall every second because they were just banging it off the wall.
You mentioned umpires. Is there a memorable? I don't want to say spat. Memorable. Well, what's your memorable encounters? What a fun one. That like an anecdote as far as you ever get thrown out of a game from an umpire, arguing balls and strikes, anything like that? Anything like that?
No, I don't talk. So as a reliever, I just come in. I try to acknowledge both umpires. So as I'm running in, I'll look at them and, I'll give them a head nod. Or when, you want to acknowledge them, let them know that you respect that they're there. And then I typically let them do their jobs. So there's been times where, I've thrown what I thought was strike three, and like I immediately, out of my hand, I knew it was a strike. So I started walking off, and then he's like, ball. And I'm just like, my bad.
and now you showed him up to like the crowd.
Yeah, now I showed him up. And, it was never, for me, it was never intentional. It's just in my head. You have this picture of the zone. I've thrown so many innings. I know it's a ball. I know it's a strike out of my hand. So I saw it in my head. It wasn't a strike. It wasn't about anything about the umpire. I just knew it was a strike, and I'd walk away, and he saw it differently. And that happens. You see that in the big leagues all the time. They start walking off, and then they come back. But, as a reliever, throwing one inning at a time, 2 innings at a time, I don't get to build a rapport with the umpires like a starter.
Well, you probably know these guys. I'm sure you see them all the time. I imagine.
Yeah. So, but they know I'm respectful for sure. So it's funny. So sometimes I get to hit as a reliever, and I'll go in the box and like the umpire be like, "Good luck." I had like 5 ABs my whole career as a reliever.
Are you over? You got to hit.
Oh no, I'm definitely over. I've had my thumbs numb a couple times, but.
Oh yeah, that's gonna sting.
I didn't realize how close the pitcher is to you. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's. So I'm not looking to get anybody fired, but robot umps. What's your thoughts on robot umps?
They're terrible.
You like the.
We had them in the fall league sometimes.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they were testing it out, and is it not accurate, or you just don't like that? I don't know. What's your
well, one I don't. I wouldn't be upset if they had a challenge, sure. And, like if they had the technology and then, they really felt like it was a strike and they challenged it, sure. Like 1 or 2 of those. But completely, one, I think I enjoy the human aspect. Human error is a big part of all this, and I like it. But statistically speaking, they get like 98.8% of balls and strikes called right, which is amazing. Or like it was some high number where they're really good at their jobs.
Yeah, well, you only notice them when they're messing up, right? That's unfortunately that's how referees are. That's how umpires are. It's like they're doing a great job. If you don't realize they're out there. I guess that's how it works.
I mean, people yell when I make mistakes. They yell when they make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay. But I mean, you see some things that are technically strikes that will never be called strikes. Sometimes you can throw a curveball that bounces on the plate that technically at the angle crosses, and I think everyone in the baseball world. No one wants that called a strike. So there's stuff like that.
BVP, batter versus pitcher data, is something that us in the daily fantasy sports world talk about. And pitcher versus batter. Look from your perspective, is there a guy, maybe a really talented hitter that you just for whatever reason you feel overconfident on, you lock him down, and vice versa? Is there somebody you see stepping in the box like no matter what you throw him, no matter where you throw it, he gets you every single time? Is that for real? Is that small sample size stuff? What's your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the sample size matter. If it's four at bats, it's hard to really say. So starters have this better. So I played with him in the fall league. His name's Mason McCoy. And I joke with him. And then we went back one day and we joke about, I'm like, bro, I don't know if I ever got you out. And then we look back to the numbers, and he was like 7 for 8 against me with like all singles, and I give him a lot of time. Like, yeah, you just hit a bunch of ground balls that went through. But that's one guy, and like he's amazing. He plays in the Orioles, so I think he's on the 60-man right now for the Orioles. And then I'm not going to call out some guys I consistently dominate. They know who they are.
They know who they are.
There's a couple of guys that when they come up to the box, I feel pretty confident it's going to be a 3 to 5 pitch strikeout AB. Who you have a good matchup against?
Who's the best hitter you've thrown against? You just or maybe a pitch it's a perfect pitch and he still crushed it. It's
the
like,
best
how did that happen?
hitter I've thrown against. This is a guy who I think is one of the most underrated and maybe one of the smartest hitters I've ever. And this is actually someone I threw against in spring training was Howie Kendrick. Howie Kendrick is probably the most underrated smartest hitters I've ever seen in my life. He's unbelievable. And he's not a full-time player anymore. I think he hit 340 last year.
He
and
had great
obviously
StatCast data last year, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he crushed it. Like his StatCast stuff.
But he's also an amazing human being. He takes care of the minor leaguers. But Hull, like that's an at bat. That's an at bat right there. He's just really smart. He's really smart.
Yeah, he was. He's been around for a long time, and
Long time. Yep.
people were talking about him like potentially getting a batting title. I don't know how close he got, but I feel like he did to some degree. But great career for him
in the past in his career.
Yeah, well, I don't know how close he got, but I know like that was something that people when he was coming up, they were saying this guy's a future potential. Like
I feel like him and Brandon Phillips got a lot of comps to each other.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so minor leagues. I want to talk about the minor leagues. Life in the minor leagues, not as glamorous as the pros, as the big leagues. For the Nationals. Well, what Scherzer and Soto are getting. The spread. But what are we looking at in the locker room as far as the buffet before the game, after the game? Is it like a stipend of some sort? What are we doing here?
So it depends. Every team in the league has a visiting clubhouse. They have a visitor locker room, and then they have a visiting clubhouse manager, and he is responsible for a certain amount of meals, and we have to pay for those meals, and those are called clubhouse dues. So each place has, you're going to spend $12 a day here, $8, whatever. Everyone's different, and there is a very big gap between a good clubhouse manager and a bad one.
The good ones, the bad ones. You're excited
sometimes
when you
you're
go
going
to
to
those
get
cities.
Chick-fil-A before the game. Sometimes you're going to only have a loaf of bread. And peanut butter before the game. So I mean, there's a big gap, but typically it's sometimes it's a lot of deli meat. I will say that a lot of deli meat. Hopefully you get deli meat, fruit, maybe some kind of hot chicken or something like that. It just depends. But typically when this is like an unspoken rule. When a big leaguer is on rehab, they usually pay for a meal. So they'll pay for all the minor leagues. So when they come down, we're like, oh my gosh, we might get Outback tonight, or whatever they can pick up. The clubhouse manager picks up, and that's
you're not rooting for guys to get injured, but you're kind of secretly excited to see them come through for a couple games.
You're not. I mean, obviously, you never want to see that, but when they're there, you get a good meal. Sometimes it's been a while since you had a good meal, so you're pretty excited about it.
I hope you're not paying $12 for a loaf of bread and some peanut butter. You're getting robbed, man.
You're surprised sometimes.
I guess like they've been there for a long time. They're just gonna do their
Well, I mean, in my experience, the more effort that the clubhouse manager goes to get good stuff for the guys, the bigger the tips are. It's definitely reciprocated. You can tell if a guy put effort in, and you can tell when a guy is doing the minimum. So whatever he makes the dues is what we have to pay. But after that, everyone tips typically, unless it's like if it's peanut butter and bread, it's really hard to tip someone like that. So
yeah,
there's a big difference. So, but if a guy puts some effort in, and it doesn't take much to put effort in, a trip to Sam's Club makes a big difference. But the tips start really rolling out for sure.
I remember years ago I read a book about a clubhouse attendant in the majors, and like they were talking about all the kind of the ins and outs, and this is all sort of familiar. And yeah, just like I didn't know that like the player is just supposed to tip this. Like how is it? Do you have cash? How does that even work? Everybody just has cash on them?
I mean, sometimes. So I mean, we get a stipend. I think it was $20 a day. I might be wrong on that, but I think it was $20 a day. So if you're on a road trip, then you get $20 a day. But then they'll mix in that travel day is a half day and then whatever. But so it gets a little finagled. But so usually you try to pay out of that. So your meal money of you that's supposed to be used for your dinner or whatever, a lot of times goes towards just paying your dues. They go right back to the clubhouse.
And travel, like we talked about this pre-show a little bit, but like the bus rides and getting into hotels like 9 a.m. What's life on the road like in the minor leagues?
You start knowing the channels by heart in the hotel room. And you know what hotel you're like, oh, we're going to Trenton or we're going here. Oh, they have a really nice hotel. That's not bad. And then there's other ones, and I have no problem calling them out here. Altoona, they have a hotel called the Altoona Grand. And the worst hotel I've ever been in, and I want them to change that. So I apologize, but Mr. and Mrs. owner of Altoona Grand Curve, we can do
What
that.
city is this in?
This is Altoona.
Oh, Altoona's a city. Okay.
Yep.
Altoona Grand Hope.
The hotel is Altoona Grand Hotel. This sounds so mean. The team is the Altoona Curve, and it's the worst hotel I've ever been in.
I wanted to see if I can get a quick Yelp score or something like that, or see if we can get something on the fly. I'm curious.
I don't even know if I should be saying that, but
I'm sure they're fantastic people.
But I'm sure they're amazing people. But yeah, it's a little rough. That is one that every minor leaguer wants to avoid.
Yeah, and you were saying like one of the big fights is, and I don't know if fight's the right word, but like who claiming
fights is a good word.
Okay, that's the right word.
Good word.
You were talking about
we're on a bus.
In the bus.
You know, not everyone. We have so many people that not everyone can get their own seat. The bus is like a chartered bus, and it's like the rows are 2 by 2. So all the coaches get their own seat. All the assistants, all the trainers, the media person, whoever's coming, they all get their own seat. So that leaves, you know, that's like a third of the bus. So a lot of people have to start sharing seats. When you're on a 10-hour bus ride, we have these 6'3", 220 guys. Not a lot of people want to share their own seat. So the starting pitcher gets their own seat, guaranteed, then for the next day. The catcher the next day gets his own seat. After that, it goes by what highest level you've been at. If you're a big leaguer, you're getting your own seat. If you're in AAA and other people haven't been in AAA, you're getting your own seat. And it works its way all the way down. But there's definitely been some petty fights over it. And, you know, some guys do not like to give up their seat, even if they should. So that's it. Listen, that's the number one fight in minor league baseball. It's over the seats on the bus. That sounds ridiculous, but for sure.
And about rooming, about beds as well, is that just something that the team delegates?
You have your roommate beforehand. So for me, I just try to – you can request a roommate. I'm like, hey, Tyler Mates was my roommate this year. Hey, Tyler, do you snore? No, you don't snore? All right, we can be roommates.
That's the first question.
That's the first question, for sure. Do you snore? Do you like Netflix, or do you play video games? If it's a yes to all three, then we can be roommates most likely.
Do you carry a console with her? Are you watching Netflix as you're going along?
Yeah. So I mean, it's almost a must to have like on your phone or on an iPad like Netflix or something, because they'll put movies on the bus, but you might not want to hear that movie. And that movie is coming off around 3:00. And you have 6 hours left on the bus.
It's hard to get a group of like 4 people to figure out what topping they want on a pizza. To get everybody to agree on the movie is probably really tricky and hard to figure out, I suppose. Probably not a lot of success.
Executive decisions have to be made.
And then you just like fire up your iPad and like say, screw the movie. I'm just going to watch this.
I typically just put my headphones on. Even if it's a good movie, the TVs aren't always high def quality.
We love high def in 2020? Come on, man.
The buses are from 2020 a lot of the time. But, but these are like the memories. I don't think we were talking before the show how we were in low A and we had 4 people in our living room sleeping on mattresses at one point. A couple of people had their own room, and then, we had 4 of us living in the in the living room on a mattress. Those aren't fun. Obviously, it's not great. Like, that's not what you want. But you make a lot of, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with the guys or whatever. And I don't think poorly on those memories, but I mean, that should never be the case. We should never have to do that. So it's a sad situation. But we tried to make the best of it for sure. You go get a TV, everyone pitches in for a TV. We put it on a box. Then we go to Dollar General, get us some lawn chairs for chairs. Just all that stuff. I look back on it. We shouldn't have had to do it, but we made the boat. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, whenever athletes retire, they always look back. The camaraderie is always like one of the first things they talk about as the thing they miss. So even if it's not the best conditions necessarily, the camaraderie is still awesome, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I miss a lot. There's 2 things I really miss about baseball right now. One is my friends. I miss the camaraderie. My best friends, my best friend at my wedding, like the best man at my wedding. All these people, are from baseball. So I miss those guys. We talk a lot. And then the other part is you kind of miss the competition. Like I don't have a lot of competition right now. It kind of gets me a little stir crazy. So like I find myself like competing things. I'm like, I need to relax. I need to relax. I need a batter in the box is what I need.
You playing like MLB The Show online?
Oh yes. Well, sometimes, but I play Call of Duty or something, and I'm like yelling at the 7-year-old kid. I'm like, all right,
it's not your fault.
I need to step back. I need to step back. I'm like, I got you. You suck.
The show, by the way, it's really hard to hit. Is that just me? It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. I know. Growing up, I always did like the one-touch hitting. So you have like a contact button, a power button, or whatever. But I mean, now that you're moving the circle around, like it's hard.
Yeah, I wasn't doing very good at it. I don't want to keep it too long, and you have a meeting, not too long after this too. So we gotta get moving. We want to talk about sports cards, how we discovered you, how you discovered us. First of all, let's start with this. How cool is it to have your own sports card? And not only do you have your own sports card, you signed some cards, and I guess you signed it, you sent it to the company, and then through the magic of the universe, it came back to you. How did that work?
Yeah, so I guess I got a top deal during the off season, and I agreed to a certain amount of signature cards or whatever. So I signed those, I sent them off, and then we're on our way. We're having a mini vacation. We just went to the beach for one weekend. We're pretty close to the beach. And then my wife's dad is like, holy crap, your card is online. It's on eBay right now. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's on eBay. Here, look. And new enough, it was one of my my rare signature cards. There's only 5 in the world. And I actually have it right here. He's like, there's only 5 in the world. Like, you never know. And there it is right there, my Bowman. And that's
very cool. And you can verify that is your signature?
Yep, I can verify that is me for all those curious listeners. So, so we're like, what if another one doesn't ever come out? Like, what if people don't open them in pack? What if it doesn't ever come on eBay again? So we bought it, and I grew up.
Did you get in a bidding war, or you buy it now? How'd that work?
I don't think you knew who Jacob Condra-Bogan was, so it wasn't that expensive. So we were cool.
There you go.
It wasn't that expensive. So, but he posted it, and then we just bought it. I think we offered. I think we made a bid lower. He said, "Yeah, we'll take that." I don't know who this no-name guy Condra-Bogan is. Get rid of this card.
Well, I mean, if you paid like paper, I'm not exactly sure how you pay, but if you pay with your name, buying the name, I wonder if that's your name appears in the payment. It's like, well, wait a second, this is the person actually buying the card.
I had no clue. But I forget if I think my father-in-law actually made because I think I was driving. I think he actually made the purchase, and like we were like on cloud 9. And then that's when we made this decision that we were going to try to get my rainbow, which is you get one of every card. So right now we have one of every card from 250 all the way down to this 5. I think there's out of 50, out of 100, out of 250, maybe out of 500 even. So the only thing we're missing is our 1-of-1 platinum for anyone who ever sees the super rare Condra-Bogan 1-of-1.
Hey, if you guys are out there, we have a buyer.
Yes, we have a buyer. Don't gouge me, please.
Don't seem too anxious. Yeah, I'm just sort of getting back. And when I was younger, I was in the sports cards. Now I'm kind of getting back into it. And RotoGrinders here, we're doing some more sports card content as well too. So I'm learning more as well. Do your teammates care about this? Is this something they talk about, or like picking out their cards, or nope, not so much?
A couple here and there, but most guys don't. It's not something they're really interested in. I have 2 teammates that I know have collected their own cards. One, Daniel Tillo, who's with the Royals right now, and he's on the 60-man with the Royals. He was one of the guys who started posting on Twitter his own cards.
That's pretty cool.
So he got me into it a little bit. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then when mine came out, I started doing the exact same thing. And then Jake Lowry is another one. And Jake Lowry is kind of making starting his new journey into coaching. But I think he had a card from every year.
Did you have a say at all in the picture? Did you have they ask you for that?
No say. I just sign them. I can sign them.
uh, yeah. So give me some cards. Like I guess the Bowman first prospect cards. Who should I be targeting in the minor leagues? If I'm a collector, who should I have my eye on?
Who I think and who other people think, and the generated value is a little different. So everyone's on the Dominguez's.
He's like 17, right?
He's never played in the United States, so it's a little hard for me to, go ahead and give him a batting title or something like that.
And his cards are going for thousands of dollars. Is that correct?
Thousands of dollars. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Wander Franco had a little bit more merit to me because he was already hit like 340 or something, in the United States last year when his card was blowing up. But, from the collector's side, it's Bobby Witt, it's Poisson, Xavier Edwards isn't bad. Some of the Anthony Volpes, there's a lot of people who like Anthony Volpe, or it might be Volpe. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I'm trying to think. The rare Jacob Condra-Bogan card. Look out for that one. A lot of people are, want that, going for a couple thousand. So,
did you cross paths with maybe a Joe Adele or a Luis Robert?
Yeah, for sure. I faced Joe Adele. He is 0 for 1 against me with a strikeout to end the game and get a save. Mr. Joe Adele.
Yes.
So.
Love it. Tell the people about your Instagram page. I was looking at it before the show, and I guess you're partnering with one of your former teammates.
Yeah, so I'm partnering with my former teammate. His name is Jordan Mills. He played with me in AA last year. He made it up to AAA, and he was one of the casualties of the COVID cuts. So he wouldn't have been cut if it wasn't for COVID, and they started downsizing, and he was a free agent. So they let him go. We've stayed in touch the whole time, and we started coming up with ideas of what we can do. We have a lot of downtime. What can we do right now? And we started talking about cards, and he kind of had an account going, and he had collected cards growing up. I collected cards growing up. We're like, hey, there's all these guys. And we watched Phil Hughes. We've seen Phil Hughes do some of his stuff on YouTube. And we're like, this is really cool. Like, it looks really fun. People are getting really good responses. Everyone's having a really good time. We're like, we're going to give it a try. We're going to do that. So we created an account. It's called J_J Breaks. That is the Instagram handle, but we call it J&J for Jacob and Jordan Breaks. And it's been a lot of fun. We open up packs for people. We do different games here and there. And we do breaks. So that we got into that, and it's been a fantastic experience. The community, we have people that come and watch us every single night, and the community is fantastic. It's a ton of love. But it's a lot of work too that I didn't realize. A lot of behind the scenes work, but holy crap, it's been so much fun.
I see you have one of those Dominguez cards on there as well. You're showing on your Instagram. I don't know this because I told you pre-show, I just signed up for Instagram like today.
Right.
Can you do live streaming on Instagram?
That is how we stream. Okay. We stream live. The only problem with Instagram is that you can only stream live at 1 hour at a time. So we do 1 hour, it cuts off, and we immediately go back live again. So, but we do a lot of stuff. Almost everything we do is live. So if we have a break and there's 10 people in our break, a break is when 10 people randomly have 3 teams apiece sometimes, and whatever card they get, if it's one of their 3 teams, that's their card, and we ship it to them. So, but those people will come and watch us live, open the cards, we give them the cards, and then if not, we post the day before's live on our Instagram account.
What's the best card you broke so
far? Had to work and they couldn't join the live break, then they can go back and rewatch it and have the same amount of fun.
The best card that you've opened up so far in a break, you got a Zion or something like that?
Yeah, we pulled some Zion, some Ja Morants. I think it was yesterday or the day before we pulled a green prism Ja Morant that was worth a lot of money. We pulled a signature card, I believe, that was TJ Warren, and there was only 10 in the world, that one. So that was a pretty good one. But we've had a lot of really good cards. So, but most of them we've had was other people's cards. So we send them out to them and took care of them. And I know they were really excited to get them. And usually when people get their cards, they'll tag us like, holy crap, I'm so excited. My cards came in. And it makes us feel good. It's a good community.
And tell me about Cards for Kids. That's cards for kids.
Cards for kids, yes. So This was an initiative we started. We haven't created a page for it. I think there's a lot of merit into this idea, and I think this could be a phenomenon that could definitely grow and help a ton of people. So the idea between Cards for Kids is that when we were doing all these, there were a lot of base cards and paper cards that people didn't really want. They're like, hey, keep the base cards. I don't need those, or whatever. And I know that when we open packs, there's a lot of cards that I know I'm never gonna do anything with, besides put it in a box. So we came up with a Cards for Kids initiative. My wife is a teacher, and she was one of the people who thought of this. We all three thought about this together. And we take all the base cards. So anyone in our break, we ask them, hey, do you want to donate your base cards to Cards for Kids? We take all the base cards and we put them in team bags, and we give them out. We give them out to kids that are at school. So that is an initiative we have started, and it's wonderful. So a lot of these kids, when they go into the store, they're not going to see the Bowmans or the basketball or a lot of these big ones, but they'll be able to see them when we give them a bag, a bag of cards in a little team bag. So that is our initiatives. We call that Cards for Kids. So we encourage people to do that in their own community. If you have base cards and you want to give them out, reach out to somebody. Reach out to me. Reach out to us. We will get you in contact with someone who would be very interested in that, and do it in your own communities as well. If you want to give them to Goodwill or whatever. I know that I have cards that in my base that they would just sit here. And a lot of these cards are mass produced more so than they were in the 80s and 90s. And, they're not probably ever going to be of value.
If I'm listening, I want to give you some cards. How do I go about giving you some cards?
Yep. So I would say, one, you could go to J_J Breaks on Instagram, and we will respond and how to give us cards, or how we can get you set up in your own community to give out cards. And I think that might be even more powerful than giving it to us to give, is for you to do it. And, everyone starts doing it in their own community. And that would be amazing. And the other ways, you can go to my Twitter account or my Instagram account and just type in Jacob Condra-Bogan, and you'll find both of them.
I'm on your Instagram. I see a bunch of cards here posted, a lot of basketball cards. What's your favorite card, your favorite non-Jacob Condra-Bogan card? And basketball, who's won the title this year?
So my favorite non-Jacob Condra-Bogan card is probably – I have a Rafael for call. I grew up a Braves fan, and I have a Rafael for call card that I opened, like one of my first cards I ever opened in a pack when I was younger. And it's an Upper Deck etchings, and it's a beautiful card. And that's probably one of my favorite ones. Other than that, so what I personally collect are my teammates' cards. I don't really have a team that I specifically collect, but I have cards from a lot of my ex-teammates, and that's what I'm going for. That's really what I'm going for. So I want to get all my, and more so than just ex-teammates, all my good friends. I want their cards, which is cool. This is cool.
And how does that work, being a Braves fan, being in the Washington organization? Obviously, you have to separate the two, I suppose, right?
Yeah. So, I guess once I got to college and I started playing collegiate baseball, I stopped watching as much professional baseball because I was playing it all the time. So I got a little bit more into college football and college basketball. And we would go to the games. We'd go to Wofford basketball is a really good program. We'd go to the basketball games. We'd watch, on TV. March Madness was to this day, March Madness is my favorite time of the year. It's so good. March Madness and Game of Thrones events, which we had during the season, were my favorite things to do.
Was it watch parties for Game of Thrones?
Yeah, so we would have watch parties. So every Sunday night after a game, our whole team would go. If we were in the hotel, our whole team would talk to the hotel and see if we could get a conference room, and we would all watch Game of Thrones. It was we had so much fun with it.
A lot of people were very angry about the last season of Game of Thrones. I feel like it got a little too much hate, personally.
I thought so too. I just think, I have people who said that they would never suggest that to someone else. I'm like, those are some of the best memories I have with those guys, and also the first 6 seasons were the best TV I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, it's a great show. I don't know if you can get the full effect on an iPad. Like you said, you need a screening.
Yes.
It's better. It's hard. There's certain shows you shouldn't be watching on a phone. That's probably one of them. No. I don't know.
So we would take a projector and ask them if they had a projector. If they didn't, we would someone would bring one, and it was so cool. We had such a good time with it.
You mentioned the Braves. Are you a Hawks fan as well?
I grew up a Braves, Hawks, and Falcons fan. I've kind of backed off that as I've gotten older. So I mean, for when it comes to basketball, I'm more of a fan of players than team.
Yeah.
Fan of players. Right
Who's your guy?
now, I have like this weird. I love sweet shooting two guards. Love them.
Okay.
So I love Klay Thompson, Jamal
Sure.
Murray, Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I think some of these guys are underrated and they're just so good at what they do. So good at what they do.
You got a prediction who's winning the NBA title this year?
I mean, most likely the Lakers. I think on a different value. I don't want to get into this too much, but the Lakers at plus 200 to win the. It would not be a bad investment in my opinion.
Yeah, I got into we have previous shows about that, and I don't know. I think the Clippers should basically be the same odds personally.
Yeah. What are the Clippers at?
They're like plus 330.
I think that's very good too.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's very good too.
They're just much deeper. I feel like they can sustain. Who knows what's going to happen with this bubble? How perfect it's going to be? How not perfect it's going to be?
I will say I felt before COVID that the Marcus Morris trade was kind of a bust.
Yeah, they can use him now.
I mean, maybe he'll come back. It didn't work out the way that people thought it was. I will say that. So, I mean, we'll see. I did not love the JR signing.
Yeah, well, I mean, and now Rondo's out for 6 to 8 weeks. I guess he'll be fine, like in theory, if they're be there within the end of the year. But
people were worried about LeBron running himself into the ground, and they're thinking that now that that's impossible for him to do, that he's about to just triple double every night for the rest of the season.
He's the most finely tuned athlete. I have no worries about LeBron staying in shape.
No, man. I mean, how many millions of dollars he puts into his body. He invests in himself, and the articles are amazing. Where he's invested into himself more than anyone I've ever heard of investing into himself.
Yeah, it's paid off for sure.
Yeah, they talk about when he was with Team USA, and a lot of guys were eating cheeseburgers and stuff. He had his personal chef, like all that. And this was when he was like 22.
There was this article that came out recently. I think it was The Athletic. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but talking about how he has this sweet tooth, and he eats a lot of terrible food apparently, but he gets away with it because he works out so much and he whatever. I'll send you the link afterwards. I think it was Athletic, but it was really interesting and worth getting into. But I'm holding you way too long. You have to go. You got things to do.
Oh, no, I'm good. I got another good 10 minutes in me.
We don't want to get it too close. I don't want to get in trouble.
Oh, I just hit a button and I'm switching over to another Zoom call.
All right, there you go. Yeah, man, I wish I had that article on the fly as far as the Lakers, but yeah, but you said you played in high school. You played high school basketball. Were you a two guard? Is that why you have a sweet spot for the twos?
I mean, I was a mix. I was a 1 to 3 type guard. So I mean, I'm 6'3", 6'4", like 230 now. But then I was like 170 before I started working out a ton and adding weight in that way. But I don't know. It's just pure. If someone has a good mid-range jumper, I love it. DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar DeRozan's underrated.
This is the worst analytical take, though. Analytics guys no, mid-range jumper. We can't. That's not a thing anymore. The Rockets would fire you.
I know. But, I mean, I wouldn't. The Rockets with their small ball lineup. I'm not. I mean,
you're not in on it. You don't like it.
I'm not in.
I mean,
there was a point though. I mean, there was a point in the season where the most efficient shot in the game was a Zion layup.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, layups and threes. That's the wave of 2020, and playing PJ Tucker at the 5, and that's they traded away Capella to Atlanta, and they did bring in Luke Richard and Mabute. I don't know if he's going to get a run, but that's a guy that a body, and I don't know how much he's going to play, but it's going to be really interesting.
Well, as good as Clint Capella was as a rim defender, I mean, was he shooting from the free throw line? 46%.
Not very well, but the pick and roll with Harden was amazing. I loved watching the PNR with Capella and Harden. It's unstoppable.
I'm an anti-Harden person, so.
Oh, okay. Because of you just don't like his game. You don't appreciate it. You think he's
I think that him and Russell Westbrook get so much, and this is before they joined together. But I mean, they have 8 of the top 9 turnover ratio seasons of all time. They're the most ball dominant, turnover driven players of all time. But because they put up a lot of points, specifically points, we herald them as superstars, amazing, and they are. But, he put up daily fantasy. He put up a lot of 3 of 18 from the 3-point field so far. A lot of
them. Years ago, this is before you. There was a site called Draft Street. Draft Street, they would dock you for missed shots. Missed shots and missed free throws. You lose like a half a point.
Yeah.
And it was like the worst to have bad, terrible free throw shooters, and even like a guy like Carmelo Anthony, who was just like a volume shooter. It's like you'd be in the negative sometimes, at least out the gate, and just you'd hate to see terrible shots. Of course, now, I don't care if Harden takes 30 shots and he only makes 7 of them. He's getting a line a bunch as well too. He's making a bunch of threes.
Fantasy, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, real life, different perspective, different conversation, obviously. And
For sure.
well, the other thing is they can beat anybody. They can beat anybody by 20, and they can lose anybody by 20 based upon 3-point variance. And we saw what was it last year or 2 years ago? They were 0 for 27 for 3 in a game.
Yeah, but you'll see times where they're so poor defensively that they get that they'll just it's literally just like this, like they're running at full speed and they're just losing the ball, and then it's just free layups. I think I watched them lose to the Knicks by like 20, and I was just like what's going on? What's going? And it typically came from the defensive end more than anything. They would take a bad shot, and the next it's a fast break layup, and then they would do it again.
There was a time when Doc Rivers' kid, Austin Rivers.
Yes.
You would look at his shooting chart; it was incredible because he did not have a mid-range shot. It was all threes and all like layups and dunks.
Yeah.
And it's just like he fit in absolutely perfect there with Houston, and just that's the team philosophy.
Dan Antonio fits perfectly with what that team's meant to do. He always had that with Steve Nash and Sotomayor. Was it to shoot under 12 seconds, to get a shot off under 12 seconds? I did.
Yeah.
They take that to a whole nother level, but playoff slows down. I don't know if it does, like analytically, but the common word is just that it slows down some during the playoffs.
That's one of the arguments against Giannis. They say Giannis, can't play in a half-court game, and he's got a decent 3. It's not good, obviously, but it's serviceable. He can bang it. It's probably at 29%, 30%, maybe 28, more or less, which isn't that much lower than a guy like Jokic or a guy like Embiid.
Right.
And those guys don't get nearly as much, as far as their 3.
We could have a whole show on thoughts about the 76ers over the last 2 or 3 years.
They have a lot of talent. They just can't. Is it the coach? Is it Brown? You don't like what they're running organizationally, or
I think
Simmons to shoot a 3.
Ben Simmons is the most overhyped player in the NBA. It's not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. But I am looking forward to a Markelle Fultz resurgence. I would really like to see that.
You're a Fultz truther.
Well, I just I just feel like he went through so much. I would love to see him come back to form.
Well, yeah, I don't watch a lot of college basketball, so all I know about is like the kind of the clips that I saw of him, and I saw he was drafted. I believe he was the number 1 pick overall, if I'm not mistaken. And you would see him with this funky free throw, and they would just like, "What is this? How is this guy the number 1 pick?" And again, I'm from a perspective where I don't watch a lot of college basketball, so I don't know much about him. And I'm like, And Philadelphia just basically gave him away. They kind of gave up on him really, really quickly. And Orlando's a good spot to figure it out.
He had surgery. They said he had the yips. But he's in the NBA playing right now, and he's not doing bad. He's averaging like 14 a game, I believe. So I think I would like to see him to continue to get comfortable. But like if you watch the college videos of Lonzo Ball, you would have thought he was going to shoot 40% from 3. In the pro ranks, but it hasn't even been close to that. Sometimes it's been really ugly, actually.
Who should I be looking for in the college ranks coming up? Because I don't know. I don't follow. I can't name 5 college. I'm about daily fantasy sports about today. Right. If you're in the NBA today, I know who you are.
I like James Wiseman. I like James Wiseman.
What is his deal? What does he do? What's his comp?
His comp?
What's his game like?
He's all around. He's huge, all around guy. He's from Memphis University. I think he'll go probably 4 or 5. Depending on, but he had. It's hard to say because you get a small sample size because they banged him. The NCAA gave him a suspension, and then he sat out the rest of the year after that.
Oh, for getting some kind of violation, I guess, or.
His coach when he was 15 years old. paid for them to do an AAU thing, and like an AAU thing. So, like paid for him to live in a hotel during this AAU tournament or something like that. It was something very like when he was in high school, it was a money-related issue. And a lot of people felt very strongly that he should not have been suspended. There's a lot of big-time analysts who are baffled that, a lot of us are baffled by a lot of stuff the NCAA does. Let's be honest.
We can do a whole show on the NCAA and, how I'll get off my soapbox. I'm not a fan of the NCAA and just the ruling bodies.
Are you a break-off Power 5 guy?
Well, no, I'm not a big college guy in general from a sports perspective. I went to UCF, so I root for UCF.
Right.
The national champs, of course. I'm sure you remember that happened. Kind of, sort of. There's some air quotes there. But, I don't – and they're in the American Conference, which nobody cares about the American Conference. And I follow college football to some degree. But as I've gotten older, I've fallen out of college sports for whatever reason. And baseball I never really followed very closely. So I don't know it very well. But maybe one of the reasons is because the NCAA is such a turnoff.
You wouldn't be wrong.
Well,
if there was a reason not to watch college, it would be because of the institution of NCAA.
Yeah, I don't want to. It's not that I don't want to support the players, but it's just man, pay the play. I know it's a complicated issue, but the amount of money they're making for the schools and what they're getting out of it, it doesn't seem to be.
Well, from the college baseball side, the most scholarships you can have are 11.7 out of 35 players.
Okay.
And then out of 35, you have 35 players, you can only have two paid assistant coaches. So the ratio there is terrible compared to college basketball, which you can have, I believe, 13 full scholarships and 15 or 16 players on the roster, but you can have 4 paid coaches. The ratio there is just not even close. So, a lot of mid-majors in the baseball world are just dying off. I don't know if you've seen that some of the schools have folded. The baseball programs have folded because of COVID.
I've seen that for some of the schools, and that's obviously terrible.
There's a couple others that have had.
My brother went to Furman. He was telling me about it. Yeah, that's and Furman's a big rival of Wilford, right? I believe so.
Yep, it is. It's right down the road. But all Wofford fans. It was very respected rivalry. So we're kind of. We were sad by it. No one's happy about it.
Yeah, I said it wrong. Wofford. My apologies.
Wofford. I wasn't going to correct you. So anyone who was watching from Wofford would be like, oh, my gosh, why did he not say anything?
I don't know the name. I've seen it before. I've seen it in print. I've heard people say it, but for whatever reason, I flubbed it here. My apologies. All right, before we step aside and get out of here, one more time, let us know. I thank you for your time. I want to see you pitching back as soon as possible.
Yes.
I really hope that happens maybe this year. I don't know. We shall see. And one last time, tell the people about your Instagram and how they can get some cards to you, cards for kids, all the good stuff.
Yeah, so our Instagram name is @J_J_Breaks. That is J and J Breaks. And we're donating all base cards to kids. If you guys would like to get in touch, you can come to my personal IG page. Just type in Jacob Condra-Bogan, you will find me. The actual @name is @JCondra-Bogan, or find me on Twitter as well.
Much appreciate your time. That was Jacob Condra-Bogan. I was Dean. That was baseball. This was the Morning Grind. We're out of here.